We are talking about mammals, aren't we, Chris? We're looking at the amount of mammals that we have, and you're very proud of this. The first pie chart on the first day of Winterwatch.
Oh, it's a beauty, isn't it?
Oh, someone wants to
come
please
on.
you, I'm
It's a
telling you.
work of art,
It's
isn't it?
gorgeous, yes,
Lucy
very nice.
Lapwing, honestly gifted. But we're taking a look here, a snapshot at all of the mammal species which we find in the UK. 107 species of mammal that we find here. Let's quickly work around the orders, the groups that we group them by taxonomically. So we could start here by the Lagomorpha.
That's rabbits and hares, only 4 of those.
Okay.
4 different rabbits and hares.
Rodents.
Well, which is obviously rodents, which is beavers, and then you've got shrews and rats and mice as well.
Carnivores.
Carnivores. Do you know, I think this is disappointing. 9 carnivores.
Wow.
Badgers, foxes, polecats, wildcats, and that's
But
about
we're missing
it.
wolf, missing lynx, missing bear,
Yeah.
gone long ago, of course.
Very
Then
low
we've got
numbers.
the deer species down here, down the bottom in this one here, the chiroptera, the bats. But look,
18 different species. That's good.
Some
though,
are
isn't it?
migrants.
Yeah, that is true.
but then look, this whole section here, the pink and the blue, are marine mammals. So this is the Pinnipedia, the seals, and the cetacea, the whales.
Yeah, I know. You've got a lot of species there. I mean, 30 of the cetaceans. So, as you say, whales,
37
dolphins.
in total are
Yeah.
marine species in that 107 total that we've got. And then at the top here, we've got a few oddities. So we've got marsupials, redneck wallabies, which we find on the Isle of Man and in Scotland, introduced species, of course, and there are a few more of those. And then we've got domestic species that have gone feral, one of Violet's favourites, these Welsh mountain goats. And then lastly, at the top here, the insectivora, which include things like the shrews, hedgehog as well, of course. But we can take a closer look at these mammals by delving into their biology, by looking at their skulls. We're going to start off with this one. I'm very pleased to be able to show you this skull because I've had this since I was 8 years old. It's my own personal fox skull. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I used to look at this as it was on my windowsill and learn about it. What can we learn? Well, by looking at its dentition quite a lot. It's got these long canine teeth here. These are for stabbing and gripping the prey. It's got these little incisors here, sometimes for shredding the meat off of the prey, but also for grooming too. But essentially, here, it's got these premolars, which we call carnassial teeth. And if you look at them, you can see that they're very sharp. They're cutting tools. And lastly, the molars here for grinding up that food. Bear in mind, of course, the fox is an omnivore as well as a carnivore. And just watch this one in action. You can see it using those incisors there, snipping at those last pieces of meat. But look, watch very carefully. When it gets tough, it turns its head on one side and then uses those carnassial teeth. Look there, look, it's cutting through that meat with that pair of teeth. Fabulous stuff. So we can learn quite a lot of these about these animals' anatomy, their behaviour, their physiology, and what they eat just by looking at the skull.
And that's obviously a carnivore, but what about a herbivore? And the very obvious difference is it doesn't have any canines. Now, this is the skull of a hare, and you can see it's got those front incisors, and it'll use that to tear off the grass and mainly eat grass. And then they've got these very flat teeth at the back, which they'll use for grinding and chewing. And then there's this diastema area, which is the sort of empty area in between. And if we take a look at how a hare eats, you can see exactly how this is perfectly adapted. Uses those front incisors, as I said, tearing off bits of grass, and then it will grind and gnaw and chew. Very flexible jaw. You can see, I love that. It's really enjoyable. Oh, let's have a little bit of a scratch as well.
Put that down carefully.
I've put it down carefully. And then if we go on
it's
to...
my hair skull, you know.
Is it yours?
It's my hair skull, yeah, and it's got...
This one isn't yours, I know that.
It's got a tooth missing.
And it's got the front incisors missing. But anyway, this is, I think you can guess at what this is. It's a beaver skull, another herbivore, and we know why it's got such enormous front teeth, because unlike the hare, it doesn't just eat grass, it gnaws through bark. It needs to have incredibly strong front teeth, and that enamel is so strong, it's filled with iron. And then it has these flat teeth at the back, which it'll use to grind down. But what is incredible about the beaver skull, if we take a look at it in action, is how flexible that jaw is. It can go forwards and backwards, side and side, up and down. And you can see there those teeth which are gnawing away at that bark, which is incredibly hard. You can also hear the sounds as well. So That is another herbivore that has similar teeth, but slightly different.
OK, so we've got carnivora, lagomorpha, rodenta. Let's go back to the insectivora, or Eulipotifla, as the new name is, and take a look at this. It's a very, very small skull. This is the skull of a common shrew. And I've tipped it on its side there because, again, let's have a look at the teeth. And if you can see those, they're very small, peg-like teeth. Some of them are fused, and they're tipped with a red dentine, which might, just like the beaver, be a hardening compound. Very, very small there. OK, let's take a look at the actual animal itself. I'm going to put that gently back in there. You have to watch very carefully. They've got a high metabolic rate. They're always on the move. This is common shrew. It's in and then it's out of the frame, quite nippy and in black and white. We've got a picture of it here so you can see the common shrew a little bit more clearly. Long nose, big whiskers, tiny eyes, relies on a sense of smell. They can even echolocate, we think. But what's interesting is that amongst all of these mammals, we have a new species for the UK mainland, white-toothed shrew. Greater white-toothed shrew was found for the first time on the UK mainland in the northeast of England near Sunderland earlier this year. We can take a look at this. If we contrast it with the common shrew, there it is on the right-hand side. It's got a longer nose, slightly different coat colour, much more prominent ears, and if you can see the tail, they've got long white hairs there. What's interesting about this? Well, they've always been part of the UK fauna because they occur on the Channel Islands. They're typically a European species, but they found their way into Ireland, Southern Ireland, and there they become an invasive species. It appears that they push out our native pygmy shrew. So we're quite keen to see what's happening up there in the northeast. So we'd like you to keep your eyes open for greater white-toothed shrews. I mean, I know that's a big ask. I know it's a big ask because we've just seen that they're quite skitty little animals and move very quickly around the place. And furthermore, to identify them, really, you've got to look at their teeth because they lack those red cusps that the common shrew has. How do you get to see a greater white-toothed shrew's teeth? Your cat. That's how they found this one. So if you do have a predatory cat and it does bring in a shrew, gently, I know it might be slightly unsavory, peel back the gums and see if it's got white teeth. If it has, or maybe you find one in an owl pellet, a skull in an owl pellet, if you're doing that, then go to our website, follow the link through to the Mammal Society who are conducting this survey, and do let us know because we're very keen to chart any potential movement, changing distribution of this new potentially invasive species.
You're actually really excited about this, aren't you?
I am excited because I'm worried because we don't need any more invasive species. We've obviously seen invasive species. We've covered them on this programme: edible dormice, grey squirrels. I mean, 4 of our 6 deer species are non-native. Some of those are invasive. Muntjac do a tremendous amount of damage to our woodland. So it's very important that we monitor it.